3, 2, 1.
This broadcast, telecast, podcast, and whatever the hell else it is copyrighted by the Rad Network and the Rob and Steve Sports Show, all found at theradnetwork.com, and is for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of this madness without the express permission of the Rad Network, broadcasting, and Rob's really mean lawyers is prohibited. So just don't do it.
This is the Rob and Steve Sports Show, a show all about the thrill of Rob's victories.
Weiss has just set a Super Bowl record with 12 catches. He's in motion. Montana, touchdown, John Taylor.
And the agony of Steve's defeats.
Takes the snap. He's back. Jared looks. Jared rolls to his right. Throws downfield. Incomplete. And for the second time in the second half, the Lions come up empty on fourth down.
And sometimes, even the agony of Rob's defeats.
High fly ball into right field. She is gone. In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened.
But mostly, it's about sports and nothing but sports. Email the show, res@theradnetwork.com. And now, the Rob and Steve Sports Show.
Welcome to the show for a Monday. Lots going on. The Lakers have gone from done to overdone. The NBA, NHL playoffs coming into much more of a clear picture. Steve gave me homework on Friday. Thanks, Steve. I did it. We will talk about quarterbacks, how much they've been paid, and how much they're worth per game, things like that. A lot of quarterback news in the NFL, including Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, an update there. Troy Aikman pulling a Tom Brady. A lot of injuries in Major League Baseball. Some fan bases already angry over that. Wherever you're listening or watching, however you're doing it, thanks so much for being here. You can email Steve and me at res@theradnetwork.com. How you doing today on a Monday, Steve?
I am doing wonderful.
All right, we're going to start with some breaking news that actually ties into where I was going to start anyways. I just got an update that North Carolina intends to hire longtime NBA coach Michael Malone as the school's next basketball coach. He was with the Nuggets in 23, won 510 games as an NBA coach. A lot of speculation about where North Carolina would go with this storied program that's had some rumbles and stumbles lately. Steve, what do you think of the Michael Malone hire?
Caught off guard. I was reading last night. They were talking about Billy Donovan leaving the Bulls and going back to college basketball, where he had great success with the Florida program. I really thought that's what North Carolina was going to go. Mike Malone, I don't believe, has any college experience. Not that he needs it. I mean, he was a very good head coach in the NBA, knows now how to deal with players since the NIL deals. College players now make money, so it's an entirely different landscape from what it used to be. I wish him all the success. It's always great for college basketball when programs like North Carolina, Duke, etc., are right there at the top.
As I always say, we like to look forward. Obviously, tonight's the night. Now, Steve, you've tried to make sense of this for me in the past. Obviously, the Super Bowl is the day for sports betting, and then March Madness, but that's over the course of many weeks. But that is the next big one, right?
Yes, and when you roll all of March Madness, because there's so many games all up into one, it actually has more right than the Super Bowl. But the Super Bowl, hands down, biggest sporting event for both viewers and any single day wagering event in any sports books.
And in terms of like the championship game, which is tonight, that's going to come down a lot, right, to the matchups and things like that. A lot of the action you see is through the whole tournament.
Yes, that's correct.
So, okay, the games tonight, Michigan and UConn, 5:50 p.m. If you're on the Western time zone, it's going to be on TBS, TNT, True TV. It'll stream on HBO Max, YouTube TV, DirecTV. Ian Eagle, Bill Rafferty, Grant Hill are on the call. So, Steve, you had said, look, Michigan, Arizona, that's probably the national championship, two best teams in the country. Well, Michigan went out and throttled Arizona. And when you look at it, I haven't found anyone yet that's given UConn a chance for tonight. People are pointing to how dominant Michigan has been throughout the whole tournament, that UConn they can't expect to rally against Michigan the way they did against Duke in that incredible win. The Wolverines, back to the NIL thing, they've got experience. They've got 2 seniors, 2 juniors, and a sophomore. They're big. They're dominant. They're 7'3", 6'9", 6'9" on their front court. They've topped 90 points in every game of the tournament, and that means it gets lost in the shuffle. Their defense has been incredible. Arizona shot 37%. Wolverines are number 4 nationally for offensive metrics, and their defense, number 1 within the tournament. So, is this a game? We're going to get a game? I mean, Dan Hurley, I like Dan Hurley a lot. You're a Michigan guy. If anything, you're probably doing that thing of, oh God, everybody's saying my team's going to just run away with this thing, and that's never good. I understand that. But it feels like if this is even a game, let alone if somehow UConn does something to it, it's going to be a shock.
Yes, but to me, UConn has been undervalued throughout this tournament. Here we are. They're in the finals. They have the experience with the UConn program. Dan Hurley has been there. This is his 3rd championship appearance, I believe, in the last 4 years. Those are all good things on that UConn side. I've been saying all along from day one, I felt that Michigan was the best team in the country. Arizona was the one team that was a very close second. Those 2 teams, to me, were a step ahead of everyone else. And we watched what Michigan did to Arizona. And that game, even Lindeborg went out. He's Michigan's top player. He went out in that first half, and Michigan never eased up. They continued to extend that lead. This was an 18-point game that really was never even that close. I hope Michigan can finish it. And I know you look at it and go, oh, they have 3 losses. I think this Michigan team is one of the best teams we have seen in the last 20 plus years. I think this team is that good.
I heard some people saying exactly that. We're talking about maybe the best NCAA men's college basketball team of the modern era. They start pointing back to the 80s and 90s in the championship game. What is it? 82, when it was like on the court at the same time, Jordan and 3 other NBA superstars, and like people are going, Michigan itself is that good and that stacked.
They are. I'm not ready to say they're with the Jordan-worthy team of North Carolina, but they are right with, I believe, that North Carolina team the other year that, what was it, like 10, 15 years ago? That Kentucky team was just unbelievable. I think they're right with those 2 teams, which have been the 2 best college teams we have seen in the last 20, 25 years.
Speaking of UCLA's women's basketball team, talk about another game that wasn't a game. They won their first NCAA national championship, defeating South Carolina 79-51 yesterday. That's UCLA's first women's basketball national championship in program history. All 5 starters scored in double figures. And if you're going, yeah, you guys didn't really talk about that much. No, we didn't. You're going to hear this a lot, especially over the next few months. We talk about what we know, what we're interested in. Which is why you'll hear almost nothing about the World Cup on this show, which is, what do you want us to do? You want us to force it? You want to just read what other people are saying? And it's interesting, Steve, because you and I both acknowledge, and it's so funny. I'll start talking sports with guy friends on the golf course or whatever, and it's almost like it's been an embarrassment for people to say it out loud, and they finally are. When you start talking about how the WNBA plays real basketball, like they actually play basketball, as opposed to the NBA. And my buddies have started to come out and go, yeah, I know, I've been watching for years before the Caitlin Clark thing. I'm like, yeah, but you never shared it before, because it was like, I can't like women's basketball. And now it's become more comfortable to share it. And yet it seems like there's this disconnect with women's college basketball. But were we watching yesterday? If you were watching, I wasn't. I was watching baseball. The future of the WNBA?
I did not watch it, but I will tell you that I've been to several UCLA women's college basketball games in my lifetime. UCLA, I was actually a little surprised when I saw this was their first championship. This has been a really strong program. At least it was in the 80s and the 90s when I would pay attention to it. They were always ranked. They were always near the top. And I'm very happy to see their program finally win a championship here. and I haven't watched college women's basketball over the last 10, 15 years, anything like I used to, but I loved watching college women's basketball, which is what took me into the WNBA, because I was watching the women's games before the WNBA existed, and then kind of transitioned into that, saying, okay, now I can watch the best of those players play in a league.
So, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever you think, that wasn't the real story that came out of women's basketball over the weekend. Look, I like Gino Auriemma, who's been the head coach of UConn forever. They lost, UConn did, on Friday. This is the women's again, to South Carolina in the Final Four, and everything then and through the weekend was overshadowed by this end of game non-handshake and exchange between Auriemma, the coach of the Lakers, the Huskies, and Dawn Staley, coach of South Carolina. They went to shake hands right before the final buzzer, and they got into this heated conversation. And then they were separated by assistant coaches, and Auriemma went back to the locker room without shaking her hand or the team's hands, etc. And then you go to the post-game press conference, and Auriemma didn't want to talk about it first, but then he said he was actually upset because for the pregame handshake, he had to wait around, he said, for Staley. He claims it was 3 minutes. I don't know how his concept of time is. That's a long-ass time if he's right. He said, quote, "For 41 years I've been coaching 25 Final Fours. Before the game, the protocol is you meet at half court. You ever seen that before?" He's talking to the media. He goes on to say they announced it on the loudspeaker, and then I had to stand there and wait for like 3 minutes. That was his quote, because there was all sorts of speculation. What is this about? Is it about a call? Is it about a play? Blah, blah, blah. Yesterday, Auriemma issued a statement to apologize, saying, quote, amongst other things, "There's no excuse for how I handled the end of the game versus South Carolina. I want to apologize. It was uncalled for in how I reacted. The story should have been how well South Carolina play. I had a great relationship. I've had a great relationship with their staff, and I sincerely want to apologize for them," end quote. It's over, right? That's good enough. He said everything. He basically said I was a baby, which it sounded like he was. This is done, isn't it? It should be.
It really should be. He's apologized. He was in the wrong. He's frustrated, and I think there's some frustration on his end from the fact that UConn there for several years was by far the most dominant college basketball team, women's, in the country for year after year after year. He's had to share that spotlight with Dawn Staley now, and she beat him last year. I believe she beat him last year, but I think he's no longer the king and no one's close. I think there's a lot of good competition in women's college basketball, which is great to see. But please let this just go away. He did what he needed to do. The relationship between the two of them is between the two of them, and let's just move forward.
Yeah, I hope that's how it happens. As long as we're talking basketball. Oh, the Lakers. Luka is on his way to Europe to seek specialized treatment on his grade 2 left hamstring strain, and he's motivated to get back for the playoffs. He's definitely going to miss the rest of the regular season. No one believes publicly that he'll be back for the playoffs. I'm not even sure how much it matters at this point. Not for the reason Steve has been talking about, that he didn't see it with the defense and everything else, but also on Saturday, the Lakers announced that Austin Reeves has a grade 2 left oblique muscle injury. He's done 4 to 6 weeks, even though the team was doing no timetable for his return. He's out. He's done. All the reporting is, and that's if you ever have strained your oblique, like working out and stuff, which I have, that is not a fun injury to come back from, especially when you're trying to do something like play basketball. And then the Lakers went out yesterday and lost 134 to 128 to the Mavs. They're going to get in the playoffs. I don't know how much it matters whether they're third or fourth when they get in. They hold the tiebreakers over the Nuggets, but they could easily slip to fourth depending on how the Lakers play. They got to do OKC tomorrow. But this is it. And I know you and I texted about it, and we both kind of had a lot of the same reactions on it.
Yes. As you know, I've said the Lakers were done all along. They might win the first round. It just kind of cements that. And it's a shame because now all the Laker fans are going to cling to that. Oh, we could have won the championship. We were so good. The injuries at the wrong time. And I'm sorry, they weren't going to go anywhere anyway. Question now is how far down do the Lakers fall? I don't think they finished third or fourth. I think Denver and Houston both jumped them, but it's really not going to matter because they're not advancing anyway.
No, let's pretend, because you're right. I don't think this is realistic. Even if the Lakers, like the one that everyone I heard talking about and I was thinking too, was if the Lakers drew Houston, they in the first round they could take Houston. Not now. They're not going to take Houston now without Luca or Reeves, right? They're not going
No,
to take
I,
any.
I don't think they're taking anybody in the first round now.
So the Lakers, they do have to. They host OKC tomorrow. They go to Golden State. They host Phoenix, and then they host Utah. So yeah, they can go to 4. They can go to 5, whatever. We had that email from Jeff, regular listener and emailer. It was a nice email in the sense of he was doing what we do. He was respectfully saying, "Hey, you know what, guys? I think you have a little bit of a bias against LeBron because we had been talking about where LeBron may or may not fall all time, and Steve said definitely not my top 10, and I didn't do my whole list, but I was like, I don't know if he'd make my top 10. And Jeff was pointing out a few things like, well, LeBron's won for 3 different teams, etc. And Steve, you basically openly said, yeah, I'll admit I've got a bias. It may or may not be affecting our ultimate judgment or whatever. And I've always respected the hell out of LeBron, but I don't like certain things. And he did it again. I just don't know why he can't just. There's just certain things that. And I don't like the idea that if you believe something, you shouldn't say it. We've really gotten into this censoring of people's thoughts. So I appreciate that he said it, but what he said is just so elitist. He voiced his opinion, and he's not the first guy to ever do it. He's on a podcast, and he went on a tirade about how the NBA needs to get out of Memphis. He said the Grizzlies need to pack their bags, and they need to relocate and go down to Nashville because it's a real city. LeBron said, being in Memphis on a random blanking Thursday, you guys have to move. Go to Nashville. You got Vanderbilt there. You got NASCAR. You got a stadium. Don't they have a hockey team too? End quote. And he went on to say, like, they have everything. Minnesota Timberwolves star Anthony Edwards said something similar. My hotels ain't nothing in Memphis. They're dirty. I walked in a Memphis hotel one time and it had stains on the bed. Warriors forward Draymond Green went further. He said in Memphis, the hotels aren't the best. They aren't the hotels when you're in LA, Houston, Miami, Atlanta, Detroit, Portland, OKC, Indianapolis, Toronto, New York, Philly, Boston, or DC, or Charlotte, or Orlando, or San Antonio, or Dallas, or Phoenix. He listed almost every city. He said Memphis definitely has the worst hotels in the league. No question. And just let me give you one more, which really takes the elitism to a new level. Excuse me. Former player Channing Frye vehemently agreed. Memphis sucks. No, I'm sorry. He did. But then it was Richard Jefferson who went on to say that Memphis is like this. Imagine if you got traded to Memphis. There's a high probability that you'll have to stay in a Memphis hotel for 2 weeks. The level of depression that you would go to, from staying in that hotel when you literally are staying in Ritz-Carltons, Four Seasons, the finest 5-star hotels all around the country. And now you have to go to Memphis and you're staying in this Westin. It's not great, bro. And then a few coaches and players came out over the weekend and defended the city of Memphis. Look, I've been to both Memphis and Nashville. They're fine cities. The thing is, I get it. I get the. I've worked my ass off so that I can stay at the Ritz-Carlton and the Four Seasons, and it's nice. But this is that out of touch crap that I expect here out of Hollywood. And when your professional athletes start spouting this stuff, and LeBron's leading the charge, this is what adds to it. It rubs me the wrong way. And you should be out of touch if you're worth $2 billion like LeBron, but I just don't know that you have to be out of touch and demeaning and demoralizing and etc. It's not a real story. I get it. It's not a basketball story. I get it. It still bugs me.
And understandable. A couple of things that I took out of that, because I had not heard that story, is one, I didn't hear Milwaukee mentioned at all. And the other part is it really the hotel, or is it the hotel isn't a Ritz-Carlton and there is no nightlife? Because there's not a ton of nightlife outside of bars in Milwaukee. I've been there before. I've enjoyed my visits there, although Wisconsin is the only state that ever cut me off their bars from drinking. And I got cut off in one night from 3 different bars because we'd go and they'd cut you off, and then we had to go to another bar. And I got cut off 3 times in one night in Wisconsin, which has a bar on every street corner. So I don't like to hear that from the NBA players, but I kind of put it more towards there's no nightlife. There isn't those kind of things that they like to do when they're after the games and enjoy themselves. And in Memphis, it just doesn't exist. But that's why I inquire into Milwaukee, because it doesn't exist there either.
Right, and either way, boo-hoo. I get it. Yes, these guys fly in and they have a free night and they want to go out and they're young and they're worth a ton of money. I get that, but boo-hoo, you don't have to rip the whole city. And or maybe, God, I hate to sound like your parents or whatever, but the whole if you can't say something nice, don't say something at all, or find something nice to say. One of the things we've heard a lot in the last year, with the A's being in Sacramento, is how amazed the visiting teams are at what a food scene Sacramento has. It's called the farm to food or farm to fork capital of the entire country, and the restaurant scene has exploded in downtown, in Midtown Sacramento, and a lot of the players, they show up and they go, it's Cowtown. What are we gonna get? And they, whoa, there's some serious food here. I mean, find something. I can think of all sorts of stuff in Memphis that I liked. I haven't been to Milwaukee. Your story surprises me. But still, it's like, I'm sorry. You're making tens of millions of dollars a year to play a game for a living. I know it's hard. I couldn't do it. But you got to spend a Thursday night in Milwaukee or Memphis. I just don't think it needs to be. It's so vehemently publicized. Talk about it in the locker room or something.
And I agree. If I'm in Memphis, no nightlife, but I'm finding that Memphis barbecue place, and I'm testing all the different ones until I find that one that, in my opinion, is the best. And then I just make every trip there about going to that barbecue place.
And then have your buddies come over to your crappy room in the Westin and play poker until curfew or whatever. Anyways, sorry. Not really a sports story, but it rubbed me the wrong way. We were talking last week. What was it? Cooper Flagg's jersey sold for the most at auction of a rookie or something like that. And it sounded, you kind of poured a little bit of cold water on everybody being over the moon with Cooper Flagg. Like, not that he's not going to be great, right? But you're just like, slow your roll kind of thing.
Yeah, he's a really talented player, but I'm not ready to throw him in the SGA categories, the Jokic category. I mean, he's not even close. Had a nice rookie year, but I'm not even sure he's the best rookie in the NBA this year, even though, his odds are right there. But is he clearly hands down the best?
No one thinks so, apparently, because now he had an amazing weekend. Flagg did. He scored 45 points yesterday over the Lakers. Because I love this. Does Cooper Flagg get a patch in reverse for this? He became the first rookie to score 40 points in a game against LeBron James. Do we have to make everything? What kind of a stat is that? That was coming off of career high 51 points on Friday. Flagg is also the first rookie since Allen Iverson since the 96-97 season to score 40 or more points in back-to-back games. But to the rookie of the year thing, it's a tight battle between Dallas Mavericks forward Cooper Flagg and Charlotte Hornets guard Con Knippel. And you've been high on the Hornets anyways, and you are actually questioning whether or not it's that close?
Yeah, I would give it to Knippel because he transformed that team. Once this team got him going and they all fell into their roles, they've been one of the better teams in the NBA. The Charlotte Hornets haven't been good in quite a while, but he has transformed that franchise. That's where my rookie of the year vote goes. Cooper Flagg, Mavs have been out all year. Once they realized they were pretty much buried, they didn't worry about bringing back Kyrie Irving. There's the whole and Davis issue going on there, which they ended up trading him away. So Cooper hasn't had any pressure. He's just played, said, hey, look, it's my team, and they're not trying to win, so we can feed him the ball all we want in order to pad his stats. Where the Hornets, they've been competing with the best for the last several months, and I just think Knepel deserves that Rookie of the Year, and I don't think it's even that close.
Wow. The other big postseason award that everybody's talking about, we've been talking about, MVP, which really does seem, I mean, certainly now Luke is out of the conversation. He was barely kind of in it because he had that huge march. SGA, Wemby. One name that has never really been thrown around much this year has been Jokic. He's won it, 3 times. But what a game on Saturday. The Nuggets were leading the Spurs by 2 points when the Joker dribbled into the paint as Wemby crouched into a defensive stance. Jokic backed off. If you haven't seen it, find it on YouTube. It's a cool play. And then he did an 11-foot jumper, and he got over the overstretched hand of Victor Wembanyama, 7'5", at center, right? I mean, Jesus. And Wemby has this great look on his face. He's like, what did this guy just do to me? They went on. Jokic went on to score 40 points, 13 assists, 8 rebounds, 3 blocks, no turnovers. And Denver snapped San Antonio's 11-game winning streak, extended its run to 8 straight victories. We were talking about where the Lakers will fall as the Nuggets are red hot. Nobody's saying this was like this propels Jokic back into the MVP conversation, but that was a great matchup of 2 of the greatest playing today.
Yes, it was. And it was fun to hear because earlier Jokic was complaining about how Wemby keeps blocking his shots. And I think the shot you're talking about, he did a fadeaway. And I swear he shot the ball up into the rafters and hit it. But it was like that arch had to be like 30 feet in order to get it up and over him. And credit to Jokic, great player. And he was in my MVP. I actually had him 3rd behind Cade Cunningham 2nd. I had Jokic 3rd, and I had Wemby 4th. But with the injuries that Jokic has had this year and the question on whether or not he'd even get to 65 games, that's where he kind of fell down. But he is such a great talent.
Speaking of injuries, and it's not only the issue of tanking, but teams setting themselves up as we head into the offseason. Couple of stories from the weekend. Joel Embiid did not play against the Pistons on Saturday night. He was angry with the Sixers that they didn't allow him to play Washington on last Wednesday. He was out, quote, this is what the team released, with right oblique injury management and illness. So his right oblique hurt, and they're managing the injury. Oh, and he's got an illness of some kind, and he didn't like that. He posted on social media, quote, I guess they won't let me play basketball. I'm pissed off. I want to play basketball, end quote. He's only played 37 games this season, sidelined primarily by injury management of his knees, not mentioned in the Saturday thing. And then you've got the NBA investigating the Milwaukee Bucks for their handling of the player participation policy inconsistent with statements regarding the health of Giannis. The Bucks have told league investigators a different story than what Giannis has said. Giannis has informed the Bucks and the NBA he wants to play. The team won't medically clear him. He hasn't played since his hyperextended left knee against the Pacers on the 15th. The NBA did publicly rebuke the Bucks last month with a statement implying that Milwaukee is tanking and damaging the league's integrity. Well, the second one first, they may be tanking the Bucks, but they're also trying to figure out how to set up Giannis in his most healthy way to do a big trade this offseason as well. And the Sixers and Embiid, that thing's been a mess for how many seasons now, Steve? Jeez.
Yeah, the Giannis thing, to me, this just solidifies, we've heard the rumors that he wanted out of Milwaukee, but I wasn't fully convinced that he wanted out of Milwaukee all that much. I think this solidifies it now. I don't see how he's going to come back to this team when he's asking to play. They're not letting him under any circumstance. He's complaining to the league, and the Bucks don't care. I understand the Bucks standpoint from, we are trading him in the offseason. And that's the only salvaging part of this, is they have concluded they will trade him at the end of the year, because I don't see how he could come back. I don't think there's any trust with the organization at this part moving forward. And hopefully Giannis ends in a great spot for him to finally go on and maybe consistently. And I know the Bucks have been consistently in the playoffs, but outside of that one championship, I mean, have we ever really thought the Bucks were the best team, even in the East? And I don't think anybody has. So I'd love to see it. He's going to probably end up in the West because all the great players end up in that Western Conference somewhere, and we'll just see where he lands.
The Giannis thing, honestly, it doesn't bother me because of that extra twist that you mentioned. If it wasn't publicly known before, it's now known the Bucks are going to completely unload him, and you don't want him to get hurt. He needs to be at his highest trade value, which he is. He's resting and recovering from his injury on the 15th against the Pacers or whatever. Fine, shut him down, and he can publicly, say I want to play. That's good for his stock as well. That one doesn't really bother me at all. But what is going on with the Sixers and Embiid?
These two have been going at it for, I want to say, like 3 years now. The Sixers have gotten tired of Embiid. There's a lot of rumors of, he's just lazy, doesn't want to play all the time, gets hurt all the time, doesn't listen, or just kind of does whatever he wants. We've been hearing these stories for a long time. I'm glad to hear Embiid wants to play. I mean, he's one of the players that I would say, yeah, sometimes he does, sometimes he doesn't. When he wants to play and he's focused, he's as good of any player in the NBA. He is a game changer. And I think that relationship is moving on as well. It's going to be interesting to see where both of these players end up. And I go to OKC because they still have that stockpile of draft picks, and they still have all that young talent. What if you were to bring Giannis to OKC for some first round draft picks and maybe a couple other players, but really not mess with that core and just kind of throw him into that lineup? How good would that team be? We would be talking about that possibly being one of the greatest teams of all time. They're already almost there.
As we try to wind down this year, it's done in the West. It's just a matter of who's where. Well, the 10 teams. The NBA likes to say, "Oh, it's 8. It's 8 from both con." Well, we all view the play-in game as part of the postseason, but whatever. It's OKC, San Antonio, the Lakers. We just don't know where they're going to finish in terms of the ranking. The Nuggets, the Rockets, the Clippers, the Trailblazers, the Warriors. They're all in on some level to the play, and then it's a question of the Timberwolves and the Suns and who finishes 6th or 7th. But the Suns are 3 games back. I mean, the West is basically set. And in the end, Steve, you've said for a couple weeks now, yeah, okay, great, but it's going to be the Spurs, not the Spurs, I'm sorry, the Nuggets, the Suns, and who was the third?
Nuggets, Thunder,
Suns.
And Spurs.
Right, Nuggets, Thunder, and Spurs. And any one of those 3, and there's that question of the Spurs and their experience that everybody's talking about. In the East, there's just no having a conversation with you because you've handed it to the Celtics. And it is kind of the same deal. We know the 10 teams. It's just where are they going to fall? The Bucks that we were just talking about, they're 10 games behind the 10th place play-in spot. So it's the Pistons, Celtics, Knicks, Cavaliers, Hawks, Sixers, and Raptors are tied right now. Who's going to be 6th? Who's going to be in the playoffs or the play-in? Hornets, Magic, Heat. You've said the Hornets are dangerous. You might not want to play them. They'll be part of the play-in. They'll probably advance. But you're like, it doesn't matter. Celtics are the team from the East.
Yeah, don't be surprised if the Hornets find a way to get up to that 6th spot, especially if Embiid's not going to be playing. The Sixers are sitting in that spot. Toronto, I mean, how can you lose at home against the Kings like they did? They deserve to fall into that play-in spot. Let the Hornets slide up to 6. It'd be a lot of fun. And believe me, the Knicks would have their hands full in that first round series.
Speaking of the Knicks, they are at Atlanta tonight. That's your Peacock NBA game tonight. Also, the Sixers, I haven't heard where they are with Embiid tonight. They're at the Spurs. And Portland is at Denver. What did we say Denver's at? 8 in a row? A billion in a row? Whatever.
Denver's won 8 in a row.
And they are hosting Portland tonight.
Rob and Steve continue next, only on the radnetwork.com.
The first time Corey walked into my home, I came around the corner, extended my right hand to shake it, and said to him, "Wow, you're big." And that would be Corey from QuickDumpsters.com. Quick is spelled wrong intentionally. Quick, Q-U-I-K Dumpsters.com. That's QuickDumpsters.com. Corey's yet another maggot launching his own locally owned and operated business, and boy, did I need him, and really we all do. Things pile up, you get frustrated, you keep saying, "We need to make a dump run." Pretty soon it's more than a dump run, and now you need to rent a truck or have one of those ugly upside-down box cars parked in front of your house that you fill up yourself. Or, you do like I did, you call Corey at QuickDumpsters.com. In my case, my house had fallen into complete disarray as my late wife Christina had lost her 2-year battle with congestive heart failure, and amongst the many things left were gathering her things and finding what to donate, what had to just go in that pile of stuff where we were both going, why did we ever buy this? And it all could have been so overwhelming had Corey not just walked in, taken charge, and removed dozens of boxes of total junk, unusable dog kennels, desks that were falling apart, a worthless old smoker that couldn't be fixed, bag after bag of crap, and I can't remember what else. He was quick, spelled wrong, Q-U-I-K, quiet and clean. Well, he wasn't clean. I mean, he was. But I'm not commenting on his hygiene. I meant that his work was clean. He swept everything when he was done, and the house looked like he'd never even been there. Corey's the real deal, and I couldn't be more proud and happy to call him a brand new advertiser. His story's incredible, his dedication unmatched, and his motivation to succeed larger than he is, and that's saying something. Quotes are free. You don't even have to have them over to your house. Just send him some pics or videos, and you'll get your price, schedule your day and time, and watch someone else get that junk out of your house. Go to QuickDumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, Dumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, Dumpsters.com. If you've never heard of microseal, let me tell you what it isn't. It is not a really small marine mammal. Get it? A microseal? Oh, fine. Just ask AI. AI describes microseal this way, with a bunch of AI words. Microseal is a premium, eco-friendly, and biodegradable fabric protection spray that penetrates deep into fibers to provide permanent stain, soil, and sun fade resistance for rugs, furniture, and delicate fabrics. It uses nanotechno blah blah blah, and blah 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 blah. What AI is trying to say is that microseal is non-toxic, non-allergenic, safe for pets and children, and, although AI doesn't say this, it should, you need to contact a longtime maggot Joel from AdvantageSteam.com right now to get him to apply microseal for you. You can even make appointments online at AdvantageSteam.com. We've had microseal for years at Williams Manor, and it treats a lot more than carpets. Microseal protects virtually all fibrous materials, including wool, cotton, silk, suede, leather, and synthetic fabrics. It protects upholstery, carpets, rugs, draperies, and clothing, including wedding dresses. And ladies, you're going to need what? 3 or 4 of those in your lifetime. And it protects against stains, moisture, and UV degradation without changing the texture. Also, if you're an interior designer, Joel has a special program just for you, and all you have to do is say the password, which is what? What? There's no password, I guess. Never mind. Whoever you are, contact Joel at AdvantageSteam.com. And if you're an interior designer, tell him, I guess. I don't know. That's AdvantageSteam.com, where you'll learn more about microseal and everything else that Joel offers. At AdvantageSteam.com. That's AdvantageSteam.com. AdvantageSteam.com.
For them, every day is a must-win. Huh? What does that even mean? Back to Rob.
We got this email, radcast at theradnetwork.com. David wrote in. This goes back to a conversation we were having last week. Major League Baseball, the ABS, Automated Ball Strike System. Not a lot of big ABS news this weekend, but it's going to be throughout the season. We're going to get stories. David says, "Hey, Rob and Steve, I laughed so much this weekend, and it was all thanks to you guys. My son's Little League season just started. He's 13, And sure enough, just as Steve predicted, second batter, first inning of the first game, a player for the opposing team was at the plate while my son was pitching. My son threw what I will admit was, to me, a borderline pitch, which was called strike three by the ump. The kid was not happy, and as he walked back to the dugout, he was tapping his head over his hat and mocking the call and wanting an ABS review. And just as you guys said might happen, the ump threw him out of the game. Apparently, says David, a memo went out to all of us a couple weeks ago. My wife handles those things, he says, warning everyone of this, as apparently it has already been an issue across the country with Little League players. No one argued the ejection except, of course, for the batter's dad, who was either also unaware of the memo or didn't care and was ordered to leave the premises. Other than that, great weekend. Great to be out there watching my son. Wow, because you did. I said down the road, and you're like, you think that's not going to happen this year? It's happening already.
And he got tossed as the dad for the ballpark. Go sit in the car, watch the rest of the game from there.
My God. All right. Real baseball. We were talking Friday. Looking forward to Connor Griffin, Pittsburgh Pirates shortstop, #1 phenom prospect, blah, blah. 19 years and 344 days old, had his big league debut against the Orioles. He was involved in the very first double play of the season for Pittsburgh, which he helped turn in the second. He roped to the wall in center field his first at bat, a double, a few minutes later. He also had what a lot of people are talking about, because everybody was focused on him in that first game. He dashed from second to home on an ensuing ground ball to right. He did. Here's some ABS news. He, as a guy playing his first game, he did challenge successfully a strike call in his third at bat as the Pirates swept the Orioles in their home opening series, and Paul Skeens had nothing to do with it. Now, Griffin, that's it. That's what Griffin's done over the first 3 games. He's now 1 for 9 with a double and a run, give the kid a break kind of thing. But we are back to where we started. The Pirates and probably the 2 best young players in the entire game on the same team.
Yes, and for them, I think this collective bargaining agreement couldn't be at a better time. Maybe they can work it out. Pittsburgh owner will be forced to pay some of these players. That's where I've always been a huge fan of that, that floor, to force teams to make a certain amount of payroll to their players. But this Pirates team, I mean, they have 2 of the best players. They have a great core of young players. Again, O'Neal Cruz is as talented as there is out in center field. I think of Ellie De La Cruz when I think about him. He just can't play defensively. He wasn't good at short. He's terrible in center. Maybe they can figure out to put him in left or right, because he's got a strong arm, and maybe he can play right field and move Brian Reynolds to DH or something like that. But really good young players. If they get Jared Jones back, he's a good young pitcher that's been out for a little bit. This Pirates team is interesting to watch. We see them. They're at 6-3 right now. They've won 5 straight, and hopefully they can make a little noise.
And yeah, and we talked last week about how are they the team now that's simmering, and whenever there is baseball again, they might be the team to really watch, because when Steve refers to the collective bargaining agreement, we're all expecting a lockout in December and perhaps no baseball at all in 2027 as they fight over the cap and what they're going to do over that. For now, we have baseball, and the Pirates remain at home today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Skeens will go tomorrow, and they're hosting the Padres for the next 3 days. Do you, Steve, know what a WAG is in sports vernacular?
No. When I hear it, I will, but not offhand.
It is an acronym, WAG, WAG, for Wives and Girlfriends. It actually started in Great Britain. You still didn't know it when I said it?
No.
Okay. It's what guys do when they're not paying attention to the sport. This is us drooling over the women and the wives and the girlfriends, the women, who are partnered with high-profile professional athletes, and of course, the hotter the woman, the more they're WAG specific or WAG central or whatever. And it's always been talked about, baseball players and golfers get the hottest women. and so we turn this into a story. We know Paul Skeens is already with Olivia Dunn, model. Turns out she's got company now because Connor Griffin's new wife, Dendy, went viral during the debut on Friday. She was with Olivia Dunn, and she's a pretty easy on the eyes. So that, of course, we have to have an element of our society that's what they focused on. Screw this Griffin guy and his double and being 19 and all that. Look at his wag. So there you go.
I've always taken a different route, and I think this is before, obviously before social media and all that. I've always liked to see the wives of the players, because, sorry to say this, but you could always tell if they met them before they became famous and signed that professional career contract, or if it was after. Like Tony Gwynn's wife, lovely lady. I mean, wonderful, but you could tell he met her before he became a star in the major leagues. And I want to say that he met her in 6th grade or something like that. And, that relationships just grew from there and there. But, many times you see these players and you can tell that they met their wives after they hit the major leagues or the top rung of sports.
And I don't know the background of how long these two have been together, but there was this cool moment over the weekend as well, where the White Sox, the Chicago White Sox, actually found a way to make positive news. They announced, and it was live. It went over the PA system as they announced that they're retiring Ozzie Guillen's jersey, and he was stunned. I mean, they pulled off a hell of a show. It aired live as well on, I don't remember if it was Fox or whatever, but he broke down, couldn't believe it. He was so honored. And like the first thing he did was say, "Where's my wife? Where's my wife?" And she comes running over. She was on the set and they had this hug. It was a really, really cool human moment on so many levels to see him so honored. And then the first thing he thinks is, "Give me my wife." And I thought it was just so neat, and it's YouTubeable and anybody can watch it.
And one of the things with Ozzie Guillen, I always thought he was a pretty good manager. And like once he lost his job, his name never surfaced for any manager jobs anywhere around baseball. If I can recall, it's like he went from being really good to just okay. People no longer even know who he is.
And we've talked about this before. Mike Scioscia, same thing. I don't know how we decide, we're going to ignore you. Mike Scioscia was an incredible manager and just nothing.
He was, in my opinion, one of the best managers in the game. And I know he took a lot of heat because he was not into that baseball analytics. He understood it, but he believed in the eye test. Look, I can tell who's good, who's not good. You don't need to feed me all of these analytics to tell me, that we're not supposed to hit the ball where they're not there. When they shift, we shouldn't try to go through the hole. He was a baseball man, and he just didn't fit with how these sports leagues have evolved.
And guys that were really good before analytics, and it's usually the 90s when they were really good, they almost in unison feel that way. John Smoltz is having nothing of analytics. When he's doing the games on Fox, he is constantly saying, "This is why analytics need to be thrown out." And then he goes off on his rant. And it's the same things. Like, I played the game. I know. My eyeballs tell me. I don't need to get a call from the GM or the stat guy or whatever to tell me how to do it.
And I wish, believe me, I was on the analytics train a long, long time ago with the Bill James books and all that, and I loved it. I just think we took it way too far. They just need to bring back. It's good information, but you can't live and die by those analytics.
Speaking of the White Sox, you texted me over the weekend, and I was looking at my phone. I'm like, what? Huh? And I went and I did my diligence. And last couple years, these stupid bullpen games have driven me nuts. And I don't know if it's just because I'm old school and it's just like, this is one change I'm not going with. But this thing of where you pull out 7 relievers and they all pitch an inning or two. And ugh. So this is like the reverse opposite, I don't know, different thing. You texted me that White Sox Grant Taylor started as the opener, the starting pitcher, both Friday and Saturday against the Blue Jays. And you said it makes me wonder if you can use an opener. Why don't teams use them for back-to-back games to start if they're only going to go one inning if it's clean? So at first I'm like, what is he talking about? Seriously? And sure enough, On Friday, Grant Taylor retired the side to begin Friday, and then he's out. The White Sox won. That was the Friday game. Taylor threw a total of 9 pitches. So Saturday, bring him back. He threw another inning, 9 pitches, struck out a guy, and nothing else. And the White Sox won 6-3. And tonight, as of right now, the Orioles are going to be playing the White Sox, and your starting pitcher is Grant Taylor. Now, are they going to let him pitch an actual game here? Or because I haven't heard, I looked and I didn't see, because the initial reporting when I was looking up what you were telling me over the weekend was that they were getting Taylor ready or geared up and they'd let him have a full start or whatever. But to your question of, why don't you just use him back-to-back games? Well, eventually agents are going to be like, well, that doesn't work because we're not getting the stats kind of thing. But other than that, what? This bothers me again.
I have never been a fan of the opener. If it was up to me, we would eliminate it from baseball. But take that other side of, if you believe in the opener, we see relief pitchers all the time throwing back-to-back games. If the opener is nothing more than a relief pitcher for 1 inning in order to give you an advantage through the top of that lineup and or force the other team to possibly make some altercations to their regular lineup, and he's successful, why wouldn't you do it? I mean, I'm asking the White Sox, you can go Friday, Saturday, you can take Sunday off, you can go Monday, Tuesday, you can take Wednesday off, and you can say, I'm not a fan of it. But why does the opener have to get 4 or 5 days rest just like a starting pitcher? He's going 1 inning. It's no different than a relief pitcher throwing the 7th inning in back-to-back games. And the manager and the analytics for that team have to believe they have an advantage some way by having them go to this opener. So if you wholeheartedly believe that this is the right way to play it, and it's hard to argue because the White Sox, swept the Blue Jays and are riding a 3-game winning streak. If you wholeheartedly believe in it, you would be doing this, and I'm curious to see if more teams now will start shifting to that.
You got to believe more teams are going to try it for sure, because that's how this works, right? One guy does it, and you go, oh, okay. Well, so, and they are following what you said. Taylor was the opener on Friday and Saturday, took yesterday off, and now he's listed as the starting pitcher or the opening tonight, and it'll be interesting to see. Does he actually go like a starter into the 5th or 6th? Or does he do an inning and then another inning tomorrow, and then he takes whatever the next day off is, Wednesday, and then they have an off day, and does he go again? And then teams that are somewhat deep, I mean, you can see this getting silly. I mean, it's already silly in my opinion. But, okay, the Tigers are not performing the way I expect them to later in the year, but their pitching roster is stacked. You could do this and just constantly rotate your guys that are supposed to be starters. You could have Scooble go day 1, day 2, rest. Oh, and while he's resting, pick a guy, Verlander, whatever, go another day. You could literally create your entire starting rotation around this, where they're openers for 2 days, take a day off, and then the next day they actually pitch like a starter and go through the whole roster.
Because those pitchers are throwing on the side and it's a bullpen day. We hear about it all the time. This is their bullpen day. You could just make the bullpen day as a starter. And taking it a little bit differently. So if by chance I'm facing you and you start your top of your lineup, regular lineup, let's say you start 3 lefties. Well, let's go get a relief pitcher who's a lefty. And I know you're not going to pinch hit for him. You're not going to do anything. If I could sit there and take your first 3 hitters out of the game with a lefty reliever, knowing you will not remove them from the game, it'd be great if I could force you to change your lineup so they're not hitting there. And now I've forced you to make those decisions. That to me is where that opener makes sense. You're either giving me my lefty to face 3 strike guys, and if I can go set him down 1, 2, 3, second inning, my starting pitcher comes in, and I move forward from there. So now instead of leaving in the 5th, he leaves in the 6th. And then I figured out, but I get that great 7th inning in the 1st inning of my setup guys, which to me makes sense. outside of that, I can't make sense of it in any way, and I'm curious to see where it goes. I would like to just see it go away.
Well, but yes, but you did touch on the ultimate thing that makes sense, which in sports is a win is a win. And if this starts to prove to be a winning formula, you're going to start seeing 20 of teams that are going to start trying this out to see if they can duplicate it. This is not uncommon in the NFL. This seems a little out of whack, and I know, we always guard against overreacting early in any season. But in the NFL, a lot of us are like, well, this is the problem. We hate preseason, but at the same time, if the players aren't ready to get hit, they're going to get hurt, and you see all these early season injuries, et cetera. And boy, is baseball seemingly, and maybe it's just my perception, just going through a rough patch about 10 games into the season. Mets right fielder Juan Soto, second year of his 15-year, $765 million deal. Had an MRI on Saturday. He's got a strained right calf. They say he's day-to-day. Mike Trout, he got plunked all weekend, really, but the big one was yesterday when he left his team's 8-7 win over the Mariners after getting hit on his left hand. They're saying day-to-day. And then it starts to get worse. Houston Astros have put Hunter Brown on the 15-day injured list with a strained right pitching shoulder. Dodgers shortstop Mookie Betts is on the injured list, strained right oblique. Cubs starting pitcher Cade Horton going back to Chicago for more tests on his right arm. He's already on the 15-day injured list with a strained forearm from Sunday. Blue Jays all-star catcher Alejandro Kirk, 10-day IL after he dislocated and broke his left thumb on a foul tip on Friday. Is it just my perception, or is this more injuries than we're used to this soon in MLB?
No, I think this has been the case for quite a while now. We just see it. And I don't know if it's like with football, there's not the contact. The spring training games have really turned into, not a whole lot. In the olden days, you would see the players, they would also go on the road trips. Now you get the stars, they'll only play in the games that are at home. They're not going to take the bus ride to the other ballparks. It's kind of that we're no longer putting the pads on in the NFL. And I don't know if this is part of it, but I don't think there's, an abundance more injuries now than we've had in the last 10 years. I think it's been that way. And my complaint has been the WBC. That's the one thing I don't like about it is I have always felt the years the WBC plays, we see more injuries at the beginning of the season from those years than we do the non-WBC years. I could never prove that. I have not sat down and done my homework because I assign the homework assignments. I don't actually do them. But that's always been my feeling is the years of the WBC, we see more injuries than we normally do.
All right. Now, again, super early. It's a 162 game season. But we did talk last week that San Francisco Giants manager, he has no experience in Major League Baseball, Tony Vitello, hired from Tennessee. He's on a short leash. Rumors from decent reporting, The Athletic and others, are that the Giants. If the Giants don't do something, they're ready to go to Joe Girardi. Then the Giants are 3-7 to start. And then Vitello made news by getting congratulations. He was ejected from his very first Major League Baseball game. Encarnacion reached first base on an error, and then he didn't. He was called out because the ump said he failed to stay inside the runner's lane. Now, the call was deemed controversial because umps usually only make that call when the runner interferes with the ball or the throw, which he didn't. But he also didn't stay inside the runner's lane. And Vitello came out, confronted the umps. It's kind of funny. The veins are popping out of his neck. And if you can read lips, I mean, he was cursing every other word. And eventually he got run. And as he did, he got ran. As he did, there were a few Giants players, that gave him a smack on the back kind of thing. Like, way to go, coach. Way to stick up for us. But congratulations to him. He's got his first ejection.
There shouldn't even be rumors of him going away. And I talked about this last week on the show. That to me falls on Buster Posey. You better sit there and let the media know, look, he's our manager. I brought him in here for a reason. He's adjusting. We're 10 games into the season and you're already calling for him to be fired. And if there really are rumblings of talking to Joe Girardi, then Buster Posey to me has to go, because if he hires him in and gives the guy like 4 games before he's willing to replace him, he should have hired Joe Girardi to start and not hired this guy in from the Tennessee program. I think the Giants are making a mess of this. Just let them go. The Giants will be fine. They just have to find some offense. We're 10 games in. They can't score. Let the weather warm up and let's see where they go.
Yeah, regardless of what the hype was with the Giants being 3-7 after 10 games and 152 to go, exactly right. Let's let it just play out, kind of thing. But the Giants are in the same division as the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, and the Padres are the story right now for me because they're just like flailing all around. And this is an honest question; it's not a sarcastic question. Were we really expecting that much from the Giants this year? Like they were going to be the new Padres, and challenge the Dodgers and be a guaranteed wild card? Because if we were, that's fine. I just missed it.
I will tell you yes, yes, and yes on everything that you said. I honestly believed that the Giants were the second best team in that division. I felt they were going to win a wild card. They were better than the Padres. They were better than the Diamondbacks, and were going to be in that 86 to 90 win range. So to me, the Giants have been very disappointing, but I'm still not even ready to throw in the towel and say, the Giants are done. They're not going to win. I still think they're going to be there. I like the moves that Buster Posey and the Giants have done. I just really thought they would hit better than this. And I'm waiting for Eldridge to come back up. He is their big young first baseman, their top prospect. They did send him down. A lot of people compare him to Kurtz, the first baseman with the A's. He is a talented guy. He just needs to learn the strike zone a little bit better, but he is a pure power hitter. He can play, and I'm going to be very excited when he does come up and play full-time for the Giants.
All right, and as you said earlier, there's still plenty of time for the Dodgers to get the 86 or 90 wins. Then you've got your team. Red Sox fans are not happy, specifically with owner John Henry, and they let him hear it yesterday. Red Sox fell to the Padres at Fenway. Red Sox are now 2-7, and Boston was down to its final out. And a smattering of fans. I mean, it's enough if you go back and you find the video, you can hear them and they start chanting, "Sell the team, sell the team." Then the Sox had a 4-0 lead in the fourth inning. Red Sox sport a $265 million payroll, yet they're in last place. You brought up how far back can you get from the Yankees? Well, they're at 5.5 back now. They've made the playoffs twice since they won the World Series in 2018, and then that whole Mookie Betts going away thing didn't age well. And they're playing in New England, which is just a wash with we're so used to being so good this century, Patriots and Celtics, and then the Red Sox. Well, we did win, and now Roman Anthony, slugger for the Red Sox, said afterwards, fans should be mad. Quote, "This is unacceptable to the standard we set for ourselves." And quote, it's pointed out that Boston's offseason additions have really struggled at the plate. Contreras, Durbin, Monasterio, and others are a combined 8 for 70 at the plate with 1 homer. Pitching hasn't been better. They signed Ranger Suarez to a 5-year, $130 million deal. He didn't make it out of the 5th inning yesterday, and he's now 0-2 with an 8.64 ERA. Same for you as a Red Sox fan, Steve, thing of they'll be fine, or are you like,
I'm not that sure they're going to be fine. They're the only team with 2 wins or fewer. I mean, the Rockies and the White Sox both have 3 wins, so they have more wins than the Red Sox, who have the worst record in all of baseball. The problem I have with it is I felt going into this year that this division was very evenly weighted. The Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Orioles, the Red Sox were all fairly close. It was going to be the team that gets the pitching and has some power. The Red Sox questioned me on their power and where it was fully going to come from on this roster. But I really thought the Red Sox rotation was going to be deep. They were going to be one of the best in baseball with their rotation. It has not been the case. Yesterday's game, they hang a 4 spot in the bottom of the third against Walker Buehler, and Ranger Suarez comes out in the fourth and can't get anybody out. I think the Padres scored 6 in the fourth, which put the game out of reach. They have to get production from, as you mentioned, these people that they signed during the offseason, and they haven't got that yet. But we're still 9 games in. I'm not throwing in the towel with them yet either. It's just the Yankees have looked so good. You have Rodon is now starting his throwing program. He's going to be back here in a little bit. Garrett Cole's getting ready to fire up his arm and start throwing on the side. You bring back Rondon and Garrett Cole, and the Yankees already have a 10-game lead on you. It's going to be impossible to overtake the Yankees.
And if you were going to live in the moment and overreact after 9 games, it's really going back to what you thought of the East in general. It's basically the Yankees, and then the other 4 teams are kind of equally matched. Yankees have 7 wins, and then you got the Blue Jays and the Rays with 4, and the Orioles with 3, and the Red Sox with 2. Again, super early. By the way, since I missed the boat on the Giants, they should have been really good. What about the Nationals? Were we expecting anything out of them? Because they've lost 5 in a row, and they've only won 3 all year.
Nah, Nationals have some good young talent. I mean, James Wood has gotten off to a slow start. He is their best hitter in that lineup. They don't have the pitching. When you look at that rotation, and that's the thing, when you look at these teams that are there, they just don't have the pitching that can compete with these top tier teams. So, going into the season, pitching's what matters. If you're throwing guys like Jake Irvin out there and you got other teams with Mike Soroka, you're just not going to be there at the end of the year. They're a fun team to watch. They can hit. They're scoring a decent amount of runs, but they're just not good.
So we mentioned the Red Sox. They are playing tonight, hosting Milwaukee. The Giants will be back with Vitello back there, and they're hosting the Phillies. And the game, so if you don't have the MLB package and you're not watching local, the game that you can get is a matchup of the World Series from last year. If you get Fox Sports 1, if you get the Fox Sports Network, it'll be on as the Blue Jays host the Dodgers. By the way, for the Yankees and their hot start, starting tomorrow, they get the A's for 3 games in New York. So we'll see.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show, only on the radnetwork.com.
If you go to AdvantageSteam.com, which you should, at the top of the page, you'll see the Services tab. Click on it, and you'll see that Advantage Steam does carpet and upholstery cleaning. They protect fabric and fiber. They clean and seal tile and grout. They polish natural stone. They clean rugs, especially those really nice ones from foreign countries. And they treat urine damage. And not just urine, but vomit and feces. Ew. Yuck. I assume if you need that service, you either have children or pets or you live in a frat house. But either way, they'll take care of you. Of course, Advantage Steam also applies MicroSeal. And if you don't know what that is by now, then you just suck. Joel is the local small business owner of AdvantageSteam.com. He's a lifelong maggot, and he's treated, cleaned, protected, polished, and microsealed the homes of countless members of the RAD team over the years, various RAD studios, and of course, Williams Manor. And I hate admitting this, but he is a genuinely really great, nice guy. In fact, if you tell him I said that, you'll get 0% off all services. So go to AdvantageSteam.com. Click on Make an Appointment, enter in your available dates and any comments, like maybe type, Rob said you're a really great, nice guy. Please give me 0% off. And they will get you all set up. Just go to AdvantageSteam.com. That's AdvantageSteam.com.
Hello, the Rob and Steve Sports Show is many minutes away, right here on the radnetwork.com.
The first time Corey walked into my home, I came around the corner, extended my right hand to shake it, and said to him, "Wow, you're big." And that would be Corey from QuickDumpsters.com. Quick is spelled wrong intentionally. Quick, Q-U-I-K Dumpsters.com. That's QuickDumpsters.com. Corey's yet another maggot launching his own locally owned and operated business, and boy, did I need him, and really we all do. Things pile up, you get frustrated, you keep saying, "We need to make a dump run." Pretty soon it's more than a dump run, and now you need to rent a truck or have one of those ugly upside-down box cars parked in front of your house that you fill up yourself. Or you do like I did, you call Corey at QuickDumpsters.com. In my case, my house had fallen into complete disarray as my late wife Christina had lost her 2-year battle with congestive heart failure, and amongst the many things left were gathering her things and finding what to donate, what had to just go in that pile of stuff where we were both going, why did we ever buy this? And it all could have been so overwhelming had Corey not just walked in, taken charge, and removed dozens of boxes of total junk, unusable dog kennels, desks that were falling apart, a worthless old smoker that couldn't be fixed, bag after bag of crap, and I can't remember what else. He was quick, spelled wrong, Q-U-I-K, quiet and clean. Well, he wasn't clean. I mean, he was. But I'm not commenting on his hygiene. I meant that his work was clean. He swept everything when he was done, and the house looked like he'd never even been there. Corey's the real deal, and I couldn't be more proud and happy to call him a brand new advertiser. His story is incredible, his dedication unmatched, and his motivation to succeed larger than he is, and that's saying something. Quotes are free. You don't even have to have them over to your house. Just send him some pics or videos, and you'll get your price, schedule your day and time, and watch someone else get that junk out of your house. Go to QuickDumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, Dumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, Dumpsters.com.
This is Sports Talk, how it should be. Rob and Steve do it right. They actually talk sports. Email the show at ras@theradnetwork.com.
All right, the breaking news does continue. This is one of the things we like about this time slot. You get news that happens on the fly. We already told you that longtime NBA coach Michael Malone is being hired by UNC for the head coaching job there. And I don't know. Am I supposed to care, Steve, that the Chicago Bulls have fired both their vice president of basketball operations and their general manager as they, I don't know, go nowhere. But that's the latest breaking news.
The part that caught my eye on that is Billy Donovan is the head coach for the Chicago Bulls. He was the one that I read the article last night that UNC possibly was going to go after for that head coaching position. Everything I've seen with Malone is North Carolina intends to hire Malone as their head coach. Makes you wonder if Billy Donovan blew it and should have shown more interest last night for that head coaching job, and or if UNC changes directions and said, hey, look, we know Billy Donovan's going to be available now, because whenever you bring in a new executive vice president and general manager to a franchise, they're going to want their person in that position as the head coach. So I believe Billy Donovan's days in Chicago are pretty much over, and let's see where he ends up landing.
I'm watching as much breaking news as I can here. I hadn't thought of the angle, because you're right. It's still being reported. That word UNC intends. It's still being reported that way. We don't even know if there's been a term sheet agreed to, which that's not binding anyways. But yeah, does UNC suddenly go, oh, or does Donovan suddenly go, oh?
I'm reaching out to my agent and saying, here, UNC, I would have left Florida for UNC. So let's go see if I can take that spot right now.
As long as we're talking about changes and stuff, let me sneak this in so that we can get to the NFL, and of course, which is almost always quarterback news and the homework that Steve gave me on Friday. But the absurdity of the NHL just continues to make me laugh. The way they just say, thanks for getting us that Stanley Cup, and there's only like 7 games left, so boom. you're fired. That's what the Vegas Golden Knights did with Bruce Cassidy. They brought in John Tortorella because he only had like 8 teams left that he hadn't coached for. So hey, here you go. And now over the weekend, Patrick Waugh was fired as coach of the Islanders just yesterday with 4 games left in the regular season. The Islanders have lost 4 in a row, 7 of their past 10, and they were in that position, right, where they were in a comfortable playoff spot, and now they're like needing help down the stretch. And Dubois is I'm sorry, Peter Dubois is his replacement, fresh off serving as an assistant on Canada's team on the Olympics. He has taken 2 teams to the Stanley Cup Finals. Most recently coached the Dallas Stars to 3 straight consecutive trips to the Western Conference Finals. And last night, the Islanders destroyed Washington 8-1. So they have found the key, Steve.
Have they really? That's the question. But again, I love hockey. This is the kind of stuff. 4 games left. Let's fire our coach. We were in the 3rd place in that Metropolitan Division. Now we've fallen into the first out of the wild card range. Let's get it straight. If we can go 4-0 to end the season, we should probably be back in the playoffs. But this is the way the NHL works. It's awesome. They have 6 teams battling for 2 playoff spots. And I know years ago, I used to be on that critical part. The NHL, all you got to do is play 500 and you're in the playoffs. That's one of the reasons I don't like it. You should have to earn your way in. They let half the teams in. But for the NHL, it works. It is so much fun. We're seeing it yet again.
And I just laughed. You actually alerted me to this. I wasn't at that moment working on the sports show, and when I got your text, I'm like, of course, there'll probably be another firing in the NHL before the end of the season in 5 games at most. But you were talking last week when we were talking about being one of the few shows that talk about hockey in the NHL, and you get very excited. And you were talking about how the dynamics are so much different than all the other leagues. We all know the same 5-6 names that are up for it in the NBA, Nuggets, and you know the list, and the Celtics, and baseball. Well, the Dodgers are going to be there, and the Yankees are in it. And you mentioned a few specifics, one of which, and I didn't know how accurate or hyperbolic you were being about the Buffalo Sabres. Well, sure enough, after an NHL record 14 seasons of futility, during which the Sabres finished no better than 19th, their playoff drought is over. They clinched a berth on Saturday as a result of a game they weren't even playing. But they're in. The Sabres are in.
Which is awesome. I think this makes the Jets the professional sports team with the longest playoff drought. And if that is true, when did the Raiders last make the playoffs? Because it sure seems that they haven't made the playoffs for the most part since a year after they got rid of John Gruden, the first time after they lost in the Super Bowl to Tampa Bay.
You know, Buffalo's not one of those, they're not the Red Wings and the Penguins and, all the big, but Buffalo is a city that should be a hockey city. I've got upstate New York relatives. They just should be part of the hockey vernacular. It just shouldn't go 14 seasons without being in the postseason.
Yes. And I remember when the NHL added LA, I'm like, it doesn't even get cold. Water doesn't even freeze there. How can you have a hockey team in LA or in Phoenix or Vegas? I'm like, they don't even play hockey. But living here in Vegas, they announced last night on the news that they are looking at building yet another hockey arena for the youth to play in because hockey has exploded so much in this city that they don't have enough ice out there for all the kids that want to play all the games. And I think this is their 3rd or 4th hockey arena in Las Vegas because the Golden Knights hockey have really captured this city.
By the way, can confirm one thing. As of today, after the Sabres got in, the New York Jets hold the longest active postseason drought in North American major professional sports, having failed to reach the playoffs for 15 consecutive seasons. The Angels hold it in baseball, 11 seasons. Now the Red Wings take it over for the NHL, 10 seasons. and the Hornets technically, because the season's not over, they're the current holders at 9 seasons. That'll change, but they're only giving me the top, so I'll get you the specific answer on the Raiders. They've got to be, you would think, right behind the Jets. The other thing with the NHL, you rarely see this, and I know this is all injury stuff, but still, for the first time since 2022, a team other than Florida and the Panthers will represent the Eastern Conference in the Stanley Cup Final. I mean, again, this is how quickly this can happen in the NHL. They were mathematically eliminated from playoff contention on Saturday. They did know it was coming, and they have gone past, good Lord, 500 man games missed this season because of injury. My God, that's worse than what the Niners went through last year.
Yeah, it's a shame. They had a couple of their top players who were out at the beginning of the year, and this team just never got it under control and problems the whole year. But hockey, you see it. Buffalo sitting at 100 points this season. So great to see. And you just see how these teams, we all talk about parity in all of these leagues. That is one thing that the NHL also does better than any other sports league, is have that parity. And I think that's why we see so many coaches get fired.
And just bouncing around here, we do have a little bit more hockey, but these things, they just escape your mind if they don't matter. The Raiders actually played in the postseason during the 2021 NFL season. They lost to the Bengals in the wild card round. That's why we don't remember it, but they did. They were there. So they're not even on the list.
Raider fans, cling to that. You've been in the playoffs in the 2020s.
I should probably check our email. We probably got a bunch of them going, Joe, we were just there. We've been there this decade. No hate for the Raiders. It's just, as Steve said, cling to that. All right, so to the NHL, 16 teams get in and then they break it down to the top 3 of each of the 4 divisions and the 2 wild cards. So in the East, Tampa Bay's in, Buffalo's in, Montreal's in, and Carolina's in. And then you get into the battle of, okay, and it's all done by points. Google it if you care. There's a lot of teams, Steve, that by number. I mean, basically Pittsburgh and Boston, they're at 96 and 95 points. And then there's a bunch of teams that are all within a point of each other. Philadelphia, Ottawa, the Islanders with their brand new coach, the Red Wings, and Columbus. I mean, they're all right. Even the Capitals are just 2 games back. I know there's only like 4 or 5 games left, but like you said, they're all. This is just the East. They're all vying for these spots.
Yes, that's 6 teams fighting for the last 2 spots, which means 4 of them fall out. Well, you had 16 to start, 8 make it, 4 fall out, which means 12 of the 16 teams are fighting to make the playoffs. And sorry, New Jersey Devils, you're gone. But how can a league ask for anything more when 12 of the 16 teams are still vying with 4 games remaining on the schedule for playoff spots?
And in the West, it's actually even more goofy or less certain. So you've got the Colorado Avalanche, the Stars, and the Wild, they're in. And then you got a bunch of teams trying to figure out all the other spots that are left. The Oilers and the Ducks are at 87 points. The Knights and the Mammoth are at 86. And then there's a drop-off. Predators, Kings, Sharks. Predators and Kings are at 81. Sharks 79. Blues 78. Winnipeg 78. You last week you said, look, the Sharks are a great story, but you don't see a path for them getting in.
I see a path. I just don't think it'll come to be. And they've been fantastic. But I also had the Vegas Golden Knights making the playoffs, but not doing anything. They're 1 point out of first place. Yeah. I mean, they've gone and they've won 3 straight now. They're at 86 points. Edmonton Oilers and Anaheim Ducks at 87 points, because the Ducks, the other surprise team to me this season in the NHL, have now lost 5 straight. Wonder if their coach is going to get fired in order for them to hold on, because 5 straight when they were leading that division. And again, good young team. They're a lot of fun to watch. They're a year earlier than I expected, but maybe not if they find a way to fall out of this playoffs.
The Sharks, they do play tonight. They host Chicago, And Los Angeles is hosting Nashville. So there's a couple that are right in the hunt. Tomorrow, Steve, names that you threw out, Steve, or that we talked about. Edmonton's at Utah. Vegas is at Vancouver. And Nashville is at Anaheim. And all of these games matter and are part of this. And by the way, tomorrow on ESPN, the game's tomorrow for the NHL. Philadelphia at New Jersey. And the other game is Edmonton at Utah. They could have done better on who we're going to get to see there. We'll take a break, and then we'll come back with the NFL and the quarterback news and the homework from Friday after this.
It's the Rob and Steve Sports Show,
And now,
only on the
sports at the speed of
radnetwork.com.
sound.
The first time Corey walked into my home, I came around the corner, extended my right hand to shake it, and said to him, "Wow, you're big." And that would be Corey from QuickDumpsters.com. Quick is spelled wrong intentionally. Quick, Q-U-I-K Dumpsters.com. That's QuickDumpsters.com. Corey's yet another maggot launching his own locally owned and operated business, and boy, did I need him, and really we all do. Things pile up, you get frustrated, you keep saying, "We need to make a dump run." Pretty soon it's more than a dump run, and now you need to rent a truck or have one of those ugly upside-down box cars parked in front of your house that you fill up yourself. Or, you do like I did, you call Corey at QuickDumpsters.com. In my case, my house had fallen into complete disarray as my late wife Christina had lost her 2-year battle with congestive heart failure, and amongst the many things left were gathering her things and finding what to donate, what had to just go in that pile of stuff where we were both going, why did we ever buy this? And it all could have been so overwhelming had Corey not just walked in, taken charge, and removed dozens of boxes of total junk, unusable dog kennels, desks that were falling apart, a worthless old smoker that couldn't be fixed, bag after bag of crap, and I can't remember what else. He was quick, spelled wrong, Q-U-I-K, quiet and clean. Well, he wasn't clean. I mean, he was. But I'm not commenting on his hygiene. I meant that his work was clean. He swept everything when he was done, and the house looked like he'd never even been there. Corey's the real deal, and I couldn't be more proud and happy to call him a brand new advertiser. His story's incredible, his dedication unmatched, and his motivation to succeed larger than he is, and that's saying something. Quotes are free. You don't even have to have them over to your house. Just send him some pics or videos, and you'll get your price, schedule your day and time, and watch someone else get that junk out of your house. Go to QuickDumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, Dumpsters.com. Quick, Q-U-I-K, Dumpsters.com. If you've never heard of microseal, let me tell you what it isn't. It is not a really small marine mammal. Get it? A microseal? Oh, fine. Just ask AI. AI describes microseal this way, with a bunch of AI words. Microseal is a premium, eco-friendly, and biodegradable fabric protection spray that penetrates deep into fibers to provide permanent stain, soil, and sun fade resistance for rugs, furniture, and delicate fabrics. It uses nanotechno blah blah blah, and blah 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 blah. What AI is trying to say is that microseal is non-toxic, non-allergenic, safe for pets and children, and, although AI doesn't say this, it should, you need to contact longtime maggot Joel from AdvantageSteam.com right now to get him to apply microseal for you. You can even make appointments online at AdvantageSteam.com. We've had microseal for years at Williams Manor, and it treats a lot more than carpets. Microseal protects virtually all fibrous materials, including wool, cotton, silk, suede, leather, and synthetic fabrics. It protects upholstery, carpets, rugs, draperies, and clothing, including wedding dresses. And ladies, you're going to need what? 3 or 4 of those in your lifetime. And it protects against stains, moisture, and UV degradation without changing the texture. Also, if you're an interior designer, Joel has a special program just for you, and all you have to do is say the password, which is what? What? There's no password, I guess. Never mind. Whoever you are, contact Joel at AdvantageSteam.com. And if you're an interior designer, tell him, I guess. I don't know. That's AdvantageSteam.com, where you'll learn more about microseal and everything else that Joel offers. At AdvantageSteam.com. That's AdvantageSteam.com. AdvantageSteam.com.
For them, every day is a must-win. Huh? What does that even mean? Back to Rob and Steve. Email the show at res@theradnetwork.com.
All right, as promised, let's get to the NFL, which every day you could just do an entire show obsessing over the NFL, but which a lot of people do. Certainly quarterback news is always interesting, and it is newsworthy. Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson has shown up the first day of offseason programs. Why is that news? Well, he didn't do it last year. He didn't do it the year before, even though there's a $750,000 workout bonus tied for him showing up to at least 80% of the offseason program. And sure, you can say he's worth tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. What does he care about $750,000? They all care. They want the money, but he so badly didn't want to be there. And in 24 and 25, he did, and he's there today. Ravens social media went nuts, posting videos and pictures and saying QB1 is setting the tone. So new coach, new regime, Lamar shows up.
I'm glad to see that. As you said, new coach, new regime. He needs to figure out how the system's going to go. And it's, as a fan, I'm always happy to see the quarterbacks for new head coaches that show up for these offseason programs.
Well, and Lamar's taken hits, over the last few seasons. Certainly, he's in that Josh Allen thing of, you guys going to win? You're gonna get a Super. But also just the whole idea of it is Lamar's game what we thought it was? Does it live up to it? And I think there's an element of, and I don't know. I've heard rumblings. Did he and Harbaugh have issues? Who really knows what the truth is ever, right? But maybe there is an element of, I'll show you. I've got something to prove here. First step, I'm here for preseason. I don't know.
Yeah, plus a very disappointing season last year that he needs to step up and get some W's for this Ravens franchise.
Now, I said it as early as the hiring of the new head coach, and then other moves they've made. I am high on the Titans this year. I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. I don't know if they're going to get to the postseason. I'll look at everything here, when the schedule comes out. But Robert Saleh, who's extraordinary defensive coordinator for the Niners, you cancel out his years with the Jets. We can't judge people based on time with the Jets for the most part. And he's made some good moves, and I understand there's an element of things you got to say publicly, so here we go. Cam Ward, that's the Titans quarterback. He'll be working with a new regime in year 2, and head coach Robert Saleh is already impressed by Ward's work ethic. Again, you got to say things like this, but you also don't even have to. There's a way that a coach who's not so high on who he's got to kind of dodge the question or avoid the question, or we'll see what happens. That's not what Saleh did. He said he's a really, really good man. His head's on the right way. He has the right work ethic. I don't see him failing. Titans 3-14 record in Ward's rookie season. Towards the end of last year, he had a 4-game streak of throwing 2 touchdowns. Titans went 2-2, ended with a right shoulder injury. And Saleh addressed that, saying he didn't want to put a timetable for Ward's recovery, but he said that he's progressing really well. And then this is one of those moves that I thought was brilliant by the Titans and Saleh, is they hired Brian Daboll as their OC, their offensive coordinator, and he's one of the hot new quarterback whisperers that's out there. McVay and Shanahan, kind of, the Mount Rushmore of current, right? And there's others. But Daboll has been known. He developed Josh Allen, for God's sakes. Daniel Jones, he's the one that inserted Jackson Hart. I know, Steve, you always liked Daboll and kind of rooted for him as a head coach, and I haven't yet. We keep doing this. Put him in the Norv Turner camp. He's only a coordinator, kind of thing. But he certainly does know how to work with quarterbacks. Is he? I like the Titans in mass, and I think their defense is going to be really good. Overall, though, is Daboll good enough to take Cam Ward and turn him into a productive element, assuming he's healthy, Cam Ward?
I'm hoping. I was very critical of Cam Ward last year. I felt he was overmatched in pretty much every game. He did not look like he should even have been a starting quarterback in the NFL. He has a ton of talent. I'm just not convinced that he will ever put it together. Brian Dable to me was a fantastic hire because if someone's going to be able to make him that quality NFL quarterback, I think Brian Dable is. On Robert Saleh, his time in the Jets, he was never even given the opportunity. He goes to the Jets and they bring in the whole Aaron Rodgers saga. So he lost control before he even had control of the Jets. We watched it for the 2 years Rodgers was there. Saleh got let go. And I'm glad to finally see what I believe to be a true opportunity for Robert Saleh as a head coach in the NFL. I wish him all the success, and he proved that he is a quality head coach with the signing and bringing on board Dable. He wasn't threatened by the fact that he had head coaching experience. I've always believed head coaches need to surround themselves with the best people possible because they're the ones who are going to help you look good. You could be the most talented head coach, but if you have bad assistant coaches at every level, you will never look like a good head coach. Cam Ward, though, that's my big question. I hope he turns into the quarterback everybody believes he will be. I still question it, though.
If he's just the stereotypical game manager quarterback, is that enough to help propel the Titans to 8, 9, 10 wins?
Yes, I think they're in a somewhat weak division. Trevor Lawrence, for as much hype as he gets, he could be the most overrated quarterback in the NFL. He had a good season last year. The Jags found ways to win. They had a really good season. But Trevor Lawrence has never seemed focused on the NFL and what's going on. At times, he looks unbelievable, and I see that talent. But so many games, I just see he seems disinterested. You take the Texans. Are the Texans, I always have high hopes for the Texans. They tend to let me down there as well. The Colts, I mean, is Daniel Jones the quarterback to lead them to the promised land? So it's a winnable division. And with the right head coach, coaches, Cam Ward, if he can be a game manager, and because he's got the mobility, there's no doubt there. But if he can be the game manager to harness that passing skills that he has, I think Tennessee could compete.
Seems like we can't do an NFL update, especially if we're talking quarterbacks the last week, without getting to the Jalen Hurts thing last week. Curiously timed story that basically just said everything we've heard about Jalen Hurts. He doesn't work and play well with others. He only wants to do shotgun snaps. He'll audible without permission and things like that. And then a former scout for the Eagles came out and said they're ready to move on. If something were to come along, and certainly if this is a bad season for the Eagles, look for some big time changes. And now we've got Jeff McClain of the Philadelphia Inquirer. He's the guy, the beat writer for the Eagles, who is quoting unnamed sources from within the Eagles. But again, I mean, McClain's been doing this for a while. One of the sources said, quote, speaking of Jalen Hurts, he knows this is the last year of his guaranteed money, and he knows the cat's out of the bag. It's not acceptable, and everybody is saying it, said this source. From owner Jeff Lurie on down, everybody is on the same page. So this source, through Jeff McClain, is saying that we're done. We're on the edge with Jalen. And he did also go on to say, so is what we were talking about last week, Coach Nick Sirianni. This is, the NFL isn't quite the NHL yet, but 5 solid seasons and 2 Super Bowl appearances and a Lombardi trophy guarantees you nothing, especially if the Eagles, with all this offseason noise, then we haven't even mentioned A.J. Brown's name, they go into this season and they just lay an egg. And what if they turn out to be the 4th best team in that division? Of course they're going to strip everything down because they're just going to go to Howie Roseman, the best executive in the league, and go, you fix this.
Yes, you and I have been calling for Sirianni to be fired for like the last 3 or 4 years. When he lost control of that team 4 years ago, in the second half, they tanked. The following year, they weren't a whole lot, but they've played well the last 2 years, so I've backed off of Sirianni. I don't know what they're going to do with Nick Hurts. I mean, with Jalen Hurts, how do you let him go? He's been a productive quarterback. I understand it, and I would move on. I would have tried to trade him this last offseason to see if I could have got something for him. And I would have loved, as we talked last week, to know if they ever had any conversation about Malik Willis, because I think he would have fit really nice on that Eagles team at quarterback. I'm sure it didn't happen as a fan, things we'd like to see, but we'll never see. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles fall even farther and Jalen Hurts is gone. But how do the Eagles do it if they make the playoffs even?
Yeah, that is the sticky wicket, because in terms of the how and stuff, as you've said many times, it's not like somebody else wouldn't be interested in Jalen Hurts. They would. There's always a dozen teams in the NFL that'll certainly take a Super Bowl winning quarterback. The cap, whatever the cap situation is, Howie will figure that out. But you hit on it. How do they deal with Hurts and Sirianni if they get into the playoff? Maybe only as a wild card. It's a little early for the Tomlin treatment, so they might be stuck even if they get into the wild card and they lose in the first round. And as a Niner fan, that makes me so sad. Now, one other quarterback update. And the NFL has brought this on. What did you think? Tom Brady was the only ambitious former quarterback, and you let him become the lead announcer on Fox, and you let him become a minority owner of the Raiders, and he's heavily involved, or isn't he? We don't know. Kubiak says he talks to him every day, but then there's right, that's the new coach, Clint Kubiak. Did I get that right?
Yes.
And then there's rumors that Mark Davis wants Brady even more involved. And then can he sit in on the meetings? And isn't this a conflict of interest? Well, along comes Troy Aikman, who's already the A-list announcer for ESPN. And no, he's not going to go work for the Cowboys. He's working for the Dolphins. We don't know exactly what he's doing, but he's doing something, and he's being very vocal about it. And Aikman has always struck me as the kind of guy who's like, oh, yeah? What are you going to do to me? You didn't do it to him. And he was approached by the Dolphins. This is Aikman saying this, to assist with the general manager search. Then he was asked to help find a new head coach. He did both, and now he's sticking around. His specific role is to be determined. Whatever. Okay, he's not a minority owner, apparently, like Brady is, but he's doing something, consulting. I don't know, give him a title at some point. The thinking, though, is that he can be helpful, just like Brady is, to the Raiders. And now we go back to the conflict of interest thing between Aikman's main job on ESPN, Monday Night Football, lead announcer, and now the whatever the side gig is with the Dolphins. What happens when Aikman now shows up to visit another team's facility or attend another team's practice? Because a lot of people off the record are saying, is he just going to feed this info to the Dolphins? This is an unnamed source. Says the league has said it will address. The league has said will address the situation at the appropriate time. And another source said exactly that. Is he going to give them all of this information to the Dolphins? And it's confirmed Aikman he's going to be in the draft room with the Dolphins in 2.5 weeks. So, I mean, it's almost like Aikman is saying, come at me, NFL. You created this, and I don't know how the NFL gets out of this, and now we're into all sorts of conflicts of interests.
I don't think they can get out of this, because if they take their action now and say, look, okay, we're no longer going to allow Brady to do this. We're not going to let Troy Aikman do this. They allowed Brady to do it. We've been saying this for 2 years or whatever it is, and the NFL didn't care. And now that it's Troy Aikman, so my question then goes to, well, was it because nobody took Brady serious enough and it was the Raiders, so they figured even if he feeds them some information, they still can't win? But now that it's Troy Aikman, look, we got to be careful, because Troy Aikman knows what he's talking about, which would be a slap to Brady. Or it would be that, well, look, he could do enough with Miami to make Miami a very good team, which then would be the slap to the Raiders. But I like that Aikman's involved in this. I've always felt he was an extremely intelligent, football knowledgeable, not just because he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but Aikman knows football. He knows players. He has been a wonderful in the booth for all of these years. He is only going to add to any franchise that he works with. And now the NFL sits up and takes notice. I don't see how they can do anything, because they sat on their hands for Brady for far too long.
And are they finally sitting around a table, which they should have done when they did the Brady thing, going, well, how far is this going to go? I mean, pretty soon, is Tony Romo going to go work with the Cowboys too? Greg Olson, can he consult? He can be the tight ends consultant for. I mean, it goes on and on and on. I mean, nobody wants Collinsworth's opinion, apparently, other than everybody that has to do with broadcasting, because I'm sure he's blackmailing all of them. I don't know what the deal is there, but I mean, it gets more than a little ridiculous and incestuous. And are they sitting around a table going, how do we put this toothpaste back in the tube? And I'm with you. I don't know how they do. This is what they've started.
And we were crying about this back with Brady. I mean, it's not like we're just now bringing this up. We had a problem with this a couple of years ago, and the NFL did nothing. That's the problem, is they're backed in the corner. They're going to have to do something. But why didn't they, when it was an issue a couple of years ago and they sat on their hands and did nothing? That's the one I'd love to hear the NFL answer.
Now on Friday, you gave me a homework assignment as we were talking about quarterbacks, and it was specific, kind of the story of Kirk Cousins and how much he made per game playing for the Falcons and such. And off the top of your head, you just kind of threw out Sam Bradford and asserted that he may be the most overpaid quarterback in NFL history, based on career earnings compared to wins. Like, how much was he paid per win, or how much was he paid per game? And then you and I agreed, okay, if I'm going to do this research, 50 games played at least, and all, kind of to eliminate injuries that just destroyed a player or whatever. So I got to work. I used AI to help me narrow it down, but AI can't do these projects. It doesn't understand. It's like, it does not compute, and they don't use the right. So I had to get a list, and then I had to just start cross-checking. And I did text Steve on Saturday morning. I spent, I don't know, a couple hours doing this. I loved it. It was so much fun. This is not scientific at all, which we'll kind of touch on a little bit. But I used fully guaranteed money that has been paid out to quarterbacks. And I started in 2010, because that's when Bradford signed his. And because it's kind of a hard target of, well, where did these super contracts come from? Well, I said, we'll do 2010, because that's when Bradford signed his. And I only used regular season records, because a lot of guys don't make the postseason, right? Okay, so, and I know there's a lot of numbers here, so I'll try to keep it simple. Sam Bradford earned $130 million in cash compensation during his 9-season NFL career. He finished with a record of 34, 48, and 1 in regular season games. That means per win, he made $3.8 million. Per game, he was paid $1.5 million. That's high. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And then I kept going. I just kept going. I kept looking at the contracts, looking at the signings, and Derek Carr, 11 seasons. He earned $205.5 million. Career regular season record win-loss of 77-92 as a starter. So you remember Bradford made $3.8 million per win. Carr made $2.6 million per win in his 11-season career. Ryan Tannehill earned $197 million in his 12-season career. 81-70 regular season record. $2.5 million per win. I mean, these are high numbers for guys that didn't really do much ultimately, right? Alex Smith, $210 million in total cash, 16-year career, $2.1 million per win. Then I started to see the intangibles, the non-scientific. There's more to this story. Matt Ryan, $306 million he earned in his 15-season career. That's $2.4 million per win, but he did get to a Super Bowl. So, right, you see, that's the difference there, right? Right away, I'm like, yeah, but there was some postseason action there. And so it can't be that rigid, ultimately, if you're going to determine most overpaid, which I think that was your term, right?
Yes.
Yeah, most overpaid. Same thing, almost the exact same thing with Russell Wilson, $2.5 million per win over his career, but he got to 2 Super Bowls and won one. So Russell Wilson is not the same as Derek Carr.
And that's kind of surprising. I mean, Russell Wilson, some big contracts, but I would have thought he had more wins that compared to money earned, that he wouldn't be $2.5 million per win. That seems high for what I felt, is arguably, and I wouldn't put him in there, but arguably a potential Hall of Fame career.
And the number was in total cash earnings from his NFL career. As of these are all, by the way, numbers as of April of this year, like up to the date, up to the minute. $316 million Russell Wilson has earned. He won 123 games. And I did it based on wins, not percentage. Because then,
Correct. It needs to be wins.
And that's how you get to the $2.5 million per wins. Now, in order to kind of give you the gold standard before the last part of this, you have to go pre-2010, which, again, makes it non-scientific because we weren't signing these extraordinarily over-the-top contracts. But your gold standard to me, really, for guys that made a ton of money, Ben Roethlisberger earned $267 million in salary, finished he played 18 seasons, finished with 165 wins. That's $1.65 million a win. Tom Brady, of course, earned $333 million. We're going 2000 to 2022 for that. And 1.3 million. And Brady, even though he earned that much money, we were talking last week, he's the guy that always said, defer, kick it, change it. I want winners on my team. But again, those are all before Sam Bradford, before everything got out of control. So first of all, the answer is Steve was right. It ain't even close. Bradford is by far the most overpaid of anybody in the modern era as a quarterback to sign a big deal and produce zero nada. So first of all, well done.
And they don't give him credit because he, I believe, is the reason the NFL has the slots and what those players get for being drafted. I think he was the last big quarterback or the last year before the NFL changed it because of, I believe, Sam Bradford and the amount of money he got.
And when you threw out Bradford's name, I remember I said, whoa, what about Deshaun Watson? Well, there's a couple things there. Now, you right away said, well, he was kind of good, at least with Houston for a while. But also, he's still playing, technically. He's still active. And when you start looking at the current contracts of guys that are still playing, so way too soon, you start to go, oh, this could be a lot worse, ultimately, than Bradford. Deshaun Watson has earned now over $234 million in cash from NFL contracts. He's going to make $46 million this year. That's how you get to that obnoxious guarantee eventually. As of April, this month, today, right now, his regular season record is 37-36. So he passes our 50-game threshold. That's $6.3 million a win. There's rumblings he might be the starter for the Browns this year, but he's going to have to win a lot of games to not be the most overrated signing of all time. And talk about another guy like Bradford who completely altered the entire landscape, right? I mean, the other owners in the NFL were infuriated when the Browns gave Deshaun that kind of money because it created the next level of these extraordinary contracts.
Both of those players changed contracts in the NFL going forward. Deshaun Watson, prior to his signing, NFL players didn't get that kind of guaranteed money. We would see the contracts, it would be there, but the players pretty much played year to year with guaranteed money. Deshaun Watson changed that. The players loved it, but the two top quarterbacks that we talked, they changed the rules. And everything changed based on those two contracts of those players.
And there's a ton of names, and then you're gonna have to start getting into adjusting for inflation and all this other stuff. There's a ton of names right now that it's too soon to tell. And again, with intangibles, I just pulled one of them, Joe Burrow, who's earned $177 million. Career record is 43-33. He did go to a Super Bowl, though. There's that intangible thing, but right now he's at $4.1 million per game. And the list of all the others we're going to have to watch. And you've got in this list postseason appearances, Super Bowls, etc. In the end, guys like Josh Allen, Dak. I mean, Dak's
made a lot of money for not being able to win in the playoffs.
Right. There's no intangible yet with Dak. Kirk Cousins is moving way up. He's at like career earnings is getting obnoxious, and when he's done, he might be up there. Aaron Rodgers, he's still playing, and again, he won a Super Bowl. There's an intangible there. But if you just go by career earnings, that one's going to be Mahomes. Stop. Whatever he makes, he's not going to be on the list. It's not okay. We mentioned Burrow. Kyler Murray may hit that list, and then you get into the other names. But it was a fascinating list to do, and this all came up not only because of the Kirk Cousins thing, but also because the NFL is starting to look at their next collective bargaining agreement because they're at least ahead of the game, unlike baseball, who's doing nothing to get ready for their strike next year, or sorry, lockout. And what are they going to do? And it's been floated that the NFL might create separate categories by position, by player, follow the NBA model, the NBA rule of, well, if you pay your quarterback, this is your idea, right, Steve? Pay your quarterback, but don't hurt the rest of the team. That would be what you would like to see. Okay.
Yes.
And who knows if that's where it goes, but at least they're thinking about it. And I know it's obnoxious to throw around these dollar figures, but that's the state of the game and where it's at. And then you start thinking in your head about the guys that are coming up. They're going to get off their rookie contracts. What is Caleb Williams going to make in 2 or 3 years? Drake May's 4 years. There's a lot of guys. It's kind of a wait and see, but that's the trick now. You get the rookie deal, you try to win then, because once you got to pay them, it gets harder and harder and harder.
Yes, you got to win during that rookie quarterback deal. And
then the painful dance you have to do after that's over. And that's why you credit me. It has to turn into something. Guys like John Lynch, who somehow has figured out how to bring in Mike Evans on really a bargain, and keep other players after signing Purdy. But there is a point at which it has to end. It seems like and a lot of people are saying that we're going to see that with the Chiefs soon. But I don't know that that's true. I'm just saying it's out there. How long is it sustainable?
For quarterback contracts, is it really going to end? Because then I'm going into it saying, well, look what Brock Purdy got, and I should be getting this. And Patrick Mahomes is, next time he walks in and negotiates, he's going to break the bank again. And what he did the last time at $400 million or whatever it was, we're like, okay, that's as high as it's going to go. And now what? He's like the 15th highest paid quarterback in the NFL or something like that. He's right in the middle of the pack. So until they address it, and that's why I believe you have to break out the quarterback into a separate category, because every quarterback every year is going to keep signing for more and more and more money until the NFL does do that.
Have a great Monday. NCAA Championship is tonight. We're back tomorrow.
This has been a presentation of the Rob and Steve Sports Show, brought to you by the Rad Network, and is copyrighted by the radnetwork.com and Williams Broadcasting for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, accounts, or descriptions of whatever Rob and Steve just talked about without the express permission of the Rad Network, Williams Broadcasting, and Rob's Really Mean